have to say that we are very glad, very excited at the prospects of a visit by Prime Minister Modi to our country. A date yet to be defined through diplomatic channels. We are very excited. It is a landmark. It will be a landmark visit, the first time of a Prime Minister of India visiting Israel. I think it is symbolic, but much more than symbolic. It will be a very strong message by the Prime Ministers of Israel and India about the long-standing, growing and bettering relations between both countries, and a strong message to the world about the friendship between Israel and India. The bilateral relations between India and Israel are a plate full of issues, from direct bilateral issues to issues that really concern both parties in other regions and in their own region. I can tell you that in the discussion, in the frank, open, friendly discussion that we have with our friends and with our allies in the Indian government, everything is on the table. Everything is on the table. And yes, we are friends, but we represent, each one represents its own country and its own interests, and we put on the table everything. I have to tell you, as someone who has been here for a year and has very intensive contact with the Indian government, we have many more areas in which we agree, many more areas in which the joint values and the joint interests and the joint challenges, especially terrorism, but not only terrorism, are overriding all the rest. So yes, if we have something to say to the Indian government, we tell them. If they have something to tell us, they tell us in a very frank, open and friendly manner. And this is what friendship is all about. A year ago, the Indian government, through its various leaders, including the Minister of External Affairs, has stated in Parliament, but later in other occasions too, that the foreign policy of India has in mind two tracks that do not touch one another, but there are two tracks and they are a continuum of the foreign policy of India. A commitment to the Palestinian and to the Arab cause on the one hand, and good relations with Israel on the other. The minister has reiterated this policy a few weeks ago. I think it's a very important, simple so to speak, but important way of describing the relations. One does not interfere in the other. We can have good, India can have good relations with one side and with the other, and this is not a zero-sum game. We've been following both in Israel and in India the leadership that Mr. Modi has been portraying since he took office, amongst other the Make in India program and the Digital India program that was launched only yesterday. In our considerations in the strengthening of the relations between Israel and India, we definitely take into consideration the Make in India program, the shift in the Indian policy, and how does Israel integrate into this. As you know, Israel and India have had very strong relations for many, many years, including in the field of defense. Our defense minister who visited India a few months ago did talk with his Indian counterparts in all levels about how does Israel blend into the Make in India, such an important program for the benefit of the Indian economy, the Indian government and the Indian people itself. Well, we are very proud of Israel's achievements in many fields, including agriculture. We have been for many years what I usually call a development laboratory, and we have really have had good achievements. We have shared since a few years ago our knowledge, our know-how, our technology with India. And I'm very proud to tell you about a very important project that is already taking place in agriculture between India and Israel. We have been building together as a symbol of cooperation, but a very operative one, centers of excellence. We are now ending the second phase of this program, this cooperation program, in which 30 centers of excellence in 9 states have been built, many of them are already operative, many of them bearing fruits, so to speak. I think that each center, there are tens of thousands of farmers that can benefit from each center and are already benefiting from each center. And yes, I think that we, together with the Indian farmers, the Indian authorities, the Indian government, are doing great things in the area of produce and productivity, sharing Israeli technology in water management, in horticulture, in bettering the value chain from the field to the customer. And yes, I think we are definitely contributing in this cooperation. It's a great partnership that we have on an issue that is so crucial, the issue of food security. I support the attitude of any government, especially the Indian government, that is fighting terrorism the way the Indian government is doing so. As I said before, we have a joint interest and joint values as democracies, but we also have a joint challenge of fighting terrorism. And yes, Israel and India have been victims of terrorism. And in a world where the obligation of governments are first and foremost to safeguard the territorial integrity and the safety of the citizens, yes, there are measures that should be sometimes taken in a very complex, very new kind of battleground. And the battleground is a battleground which is defined as the asymmetric warfare. It's complicated, it has to be tackled, and I think that India is showing that it is doing exactly what should be done by a country that fights terrorism. I would look at the picture and at the challenge on a larger scale. It's not only ISIS. There are other sources, including states that are sponsoring terrorism, namely Iran. Hamas is very near our border. Hamas has shown that for many years has shown that it has no limits to the way and the methods that it is fighting our country, with a vision that could not be accepted. And as our Indian friends are saying, terror is terror. There is no good terror, there is no bad terror. Unfortunately, there is terror, and we should all fight terrorism wherever we can find it. You mentioned the Indian Muslim community. We respect the Indian Muslim community in as much as we respect all communities. Just to flag the fact that I, as an ambassador of Israel, am representing a population that has 20% of its population is Muslim. And our Muslim community is part and parcel of the Israeli society, of the achievement of the Israeli economy. And the concerns of Muslims, Jews, and Christians and Hindus should be to bring peace to our respective regions and to bring peace to to the world. And I think I would put it rather that way.